Hey everybody, I'm back to talk about using your handspun. And today I'm going to talk just a little bit about using your handspun for crochet. And it's really not that much different than using it for knitting. We do the same things that we do to test it. You know, you can make special handspun for your crochet, because a lot of people find that depending on how they work with it, that it adds too much twist or it takes away too much twist depending on how they're doing it. So a lot of times they will make their yarn a little bit differently than the majority of the people that do handspun. So you can do that. You can play with your handspun, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about just using the handspun that you have and making something with it. And I tend to make a lot of accessories. I tend to knit sweaters, and then, you know, a lot of my accessories are often crochet. Like I've got here, it's a cowl and another cowl. There's a giant scarf that I made that is probably my favorite scarf that I've ever made, and we don't know where it is. I'm gonna link it down below in the blog post that I'm gonna write that goes with this, because, you know, that's what I do these days, is I write a blog post that kind of goes with it and make sure that everything is linked properly in that, so that you have all the links. So in that, I'm gonna link to the project on Ravelry. If you're curious as to what it looks like, I need to make another one. It really is my favorite. And I tend to do a lot of the same patterns over and over again. These are both exactly the same patterns. This is a 2-ply. This is a single that's got a little bit of sparkle in it. Not sure if you can see that, but this one was in the Craftsy video that I did, I think. It was in that box of stuff that came back from Craftsy. I tend to keep things kind of all together. It's just a habit. So I think I can't remember if it made it into the video, because that was a long time ago, and I don't even remember what I had for breakfast. So these things, you can use 2-ply, 3-ply, singles, anything that you would normally use in commercial yarn, and anything that you can make, you can use. It's the same as what I wrote about and talked about in the knitting episode. And it's the same sort of thing with the hooks and the wraps per inch. So I did a wraps per inch demo a couple weeks ago, and the knitting demo last week. This week is the crochet demo, and all of that's linked down below in the blog post. And another thing I've lost is my hook gauge. And if you're making just accessories, I guess the hook gauge and getting your swatch gauge and all of that doesn't matter so much. It's nice to have. I don't know where I put mine. So we're gonna fake it, but I'm gonna show you just like how we did with the knitting one. So this is my favorite hook, and because, you know, I've got a hook, I can kind of hook it through and pull it. So this is the hook gauge that matches that one, but you can see that it's way too big. So that is the gauge that matches that one, but I think it would go in here. Yep. So same as that. So this is a G hook, so GFE, probably an E hook is what I would start with this one. Just to give it a look and see how it would work. So just like we did last week when we talked about that, you may not have watched it if you just are into crochet and not knitting. So that's why I'm reiterating all of this. So you just double up the yarn, put it through. Which hole is your Goldilocks hole? And for me, on this one, it would be the E hook. And that's what I would start making my swatch for. Like I said, I do a lot of accessories, So it doesn't really matter what my gauge is, but if I was doing a sweater, this is how I would start. I would find out my wraps per inch, get an idea of what type of yarn I had, and then I would pick up my hook gauge and kind of poke through the yarn and see, doubled up, double my yarn, poke it through, and see which one it works with best. Which one, you don't want it too big, you don't want it too small, you kind of want that Goldilocks hole, the one that's just right. And that's the one I start making my gauge swatch with. And then once I have my gauge, I can start crocheting, get a swatch done, and if the swatch is on gauge, that's all I need. All this is giving you is a beginning to start with, a hook to kind of give you an idea of what to start with, and then you can go from there. If it's not right, you can go up or you can go down. The other thing to note is, while this says E-hook, for me, I know I'm a loose crocheter, so I would go down a size or two. I don't know. I might go, I don't know, maybe a D, maybe a little, maybe a C even. So we'd see, you know, I'd have to kind of think about the yarn that I have, how I really want it worked up. And then I would start with the hook that works for me. And if I was a very tight crocheter, I would go with a slightly fatter hook probably. So you know what you have. So what this is giving you is like the idea on the ball band. So if the ball band says that you use a G hook and you know that you're going to need to use an H every time it says G, then you know when this comes out looking perfect for a G, then you should start with an H. It's just part of that is just about knowing how you work and the way these things work for you. So use that, do what works for you, find a swatch, and then go from there and make a beautiful hand spun project. Thanks guys, we'll see you again. Bye-bye.